Our guest today joins us from Kelowna, British Columbia. She has succeeded in roles of supplier, site selector, and most recently helping professionals polish their personal brands. With over 20 years in the industry, today's guest is known for her authenticity and her creative community building skills. Please welcome to the Illuminate Project, Leanne Calderwood.
Well, I feel bad, Mary France, that I couldn't bring you any good-looking boys to the podcast. I thought, maybe I could get my sons to make an appearance and flirt with you, but they were a no-go.
So
somebody watched their first episode.
This is gaining traction, and I love it. This is good. By the end of the season, this is going to be hilarious. We're going to turn this into a show.
Awesome. Well, at the end of the season, I better have a freaking husband. This is what the goal is.
How come you guys are in black and white?
Ooh.
It's a good question.
It is a good question. Builds up intrigue. I'm glad you noticed.
We like to illuminate
unless I'm colorblind, it's easy to notice.
Our guests are the ones being illuminated. So is it intimidating to be the only one in color?
Yes.
It is?
It feels weird, yes. Well, I feel like there's something wrong with my computer and I need to get it fixed.
That's great.
There's a Zoom setting I forgot to check off somewhere. So yeah.
So how's everything going with you? Like you've had a big change over the last, a year? We're going back now, a year and a half?
Well, it's like everyone else, Tim. It's the massive roller coaster.
Yeah.
And some days I just want to get off. But yeah, the highs are highs and the lows are downright depressing and require medication. So I'm no different from anyone else. It's just a different platform, I guess, that I'm on to kind of show what the years look like.
Can you maybe take us back to where you were, before all this COVID crap started and our industry tanked out? Where in your career and your spot you're at and how that affected you when everything first hit the fan?
Yeah, well, I was going into year number 2 of being a business partner with Stephen Ng with Conference Direct. So we were both into our site selection careers, 13 and 14 years respectively. So we had set some pretty ambitious goals for 2020, and we were looking pretty good there at, kind of in the middle of Q1. And then when everything hit the fan kind of on March 13th, we literally divided and conquered to help all of our clients get out of their existing contracts. Yeah. And once the bulk of that work was done, Stephen and I had different, visions of our futures in this industry. So we sadly actually parted ways as business partners. And well, as you know, Tim,
he became my partner.
He became your partner. Exactly. And that just wasn't my path. I just wasn't in a position to follow the path of many into the virtual events world. And one of the reasons Stephen and I became business partners in the first place is he liked the work that I was doing, with my branding and with social media. So I really, in the beginning days, looked at it as an opportunity to kind of explore that further. And so I did, which was a lot of fun until now we're 15 months in and it's like, it's Groundhog Day. Every day I'm exploring and there's still no traction in the industry to kind of get back to site selection. But it's getting coming. Close. The restart plans. The restart plans are rolling out for all the provinces. Yeah. So I can see it happening soon.
It almost feels like it feels like there's it's going to restart fast or something. And this is going to feel like a big, bad dream. But I don't know why I get this feeling, but it does feel like suddenly it's going to switch just as fast as it flipped before. Maybe I'm wrong. But I think we've just been waiting for so long. So now it just feels like, really?
It's only too fast. Yeah, it's almost too fast now. It's like, I'm not ready. I need more time.
Right. But no, we don't want more time.
Exactly. Yeah, no, BC announced their plan today. And you're right. It's very quick. We hit stage 4 by September and stages 1, 2, and 3 are going to happen before July 1st, which is really only 5 weeks away. So it's happening.
That's great. Yeah, we're good. Now, I'm curious, going through all of this, you talked about how you have some down days. It's a roller coaster ride, and you are now an expert in personal branding. So you often talk about being authentic. I'm curious, going through all of this, are there times where you can be almost too authentic and not be professional? Maybe comment on that in the current situation.
Now, where's the line drawn now?
Yeah.
Especially with social media. Like, how much of it's put on versus how much of it really is authentic, or is it just a slice of that authenticity? I'm curious how you find that balance.
Well, so you're right. A lot of personal branding is about being authentic. That was kind of the word that we chose for the event session that we did in being authentic. But what a lot of people who are projecting themselves, whether they feel they're creating a brand or not, is a lot of people have those mindset struggles, be it they're comparing themselves to other people on social media, or they're feeling imposter syndrome and they shouldn't even be on social media to begin with. So I feel, yeah, exactly. So I feel what I'm doing now is super meta, because I have to help, or I love helping people through those mindset struggles, but I'm on the exact same path as them, going through it.
Neat,
so it's interesting. You know, I've become a lot more transparent and authentic on social media since this happened, more so because it's now part and parcel of brand training. Whereas before, where my social media was more for the meeting partners and the meeting planners, there weren't mindset struggles that I had to walk people through. But now with the switch to branding, I have become more transparent, but at the same time, there's been a lot more struggles now being in this space full time. So it's a very meta place to be, but I have noticed my authenticity has increased. And those are the social media posts that tend to get the most traction. And so it's a fine line between posting those things and looking to help an audience. Because what you see now on social media is a lot of people are posting those things to get the engagement and to boost their following. And so you have to be careful, because if that's your end goal, then your brand at some point will come across as inauthentic.
Right. Do you have like an example maybe to illustrate like when you've done that and it really like gained traction and it like you hit that sweet spot?
Yeah, well, it was just a post a couple of weeks ago where I was tackling imposter syndrome. And it might have been imposter syndrome and comparisonitis that I was talking about. And for me on that particular day, it was a massive struggle, because I had spent a majority of the day in Clubhouse in personal branding rooms. And so there were all these people who have been doing this a lot longer than I have, and were a lot younger than me. So that's the other thing I struggle with, is being my age and doing a pivot like this. So that post was very authentic and very honest, because like, at my age, I feel like an imposter.
It's hard at 30, right?
Thank you. Yes, it is. It's killing me. I just don't have the energy I used to have. But you see these millennials killing it, right? Yeah. They're killing it on social media. And I'm literally dying just to keep up to them. But at the same time, I don't feel called to do anything else. I really enjoy it. It's fun to learn about these things. So until I get called away to do something different, I have to stay on this path, because it's the only path I really want to be on right now.
I got to ask, do you think Tim's being authentic and making that comment about you being 30 and then he throws on a Yankees hat just to rub it in? I mean, like,
but he's being super authentic with the Yankees hat.
Very authentic.
He's
not hiding it.
If he showed up as in a Jays hat, I would know something was up. I'm going to get dinged. Something's happening. I don't trust it.
Well, I have a question for you, Leanne. So you're a runner. I know that. You've done a few marathons, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
What is that experience? Because I've done a few as well, and I've learned so much about myself by going on that journey. Have you taken anything from that experience and that journey and applied it to the past year, the marathon that we've been on?
Yeah, wow. What a fascinating question, Mr. Whalen. You know, when
why we keep him.
Yeah. He's well, so for me, the marathon was setting a goal. And I don't know if you guys do those strength finders assessments or the Enneagram assessments.
Oh, I made these guys do it. Tim didn't do it, but I made Ryan do it.
She grinds.
Okay, well, I'm dying to know what you guys are. Do you guys know your numbers?
Oh.
I don't remember. We talked about this before. I think I'm a 9 or a 3.
Okay, well, the 3 is the achiever.
That's a big change, yeah.
Yes, that was the 3. Yeah. I just couldn't remember the actual number. Yeah, I'm the achiever.
Yeah, and the achiever, I mean, that's mine. So I can relate to some of the things that you go through, Mary France. I'm also the achiever on the Strength Finders. So when I was challenged to do that marathon so many years ago, Tim, it just became another goal. It just became another achieve. And that's what this year has become, is just setting new goals, right? So scratch the goals that Stephen and I had set for our site selection business and just start setting new goals for my new business until site selection came back. And that was the roller coaster, as I started setting goals that I was not even close to hitting. And it's, again, it's a product of our industry just not being ready to come back.
Yeah.
So that's when I needed to get off that roller coaster. And that's when all of these mindset things would come up. And so that kind of spiraled into the whole being authentic and showing up even on days when I don't even want to show up. And that's one thing that, you know, I guess I've kind of prided myself on with my personal brand, is no matter what day I was having, I still needed to show up for whoever needed me to show up. Whatever word they needed to hear or encouragement they needed to see, I needed to show up. And yeah, some days I didn't want to do it.
You know what's neat is I think we've done a lot of these podcasts during the pandemic, and I haven't heard much about goal setting, and that just kind of tweaked my mind. Like, yeah, if you're setting goals ahead, that helps you get through the tough times.
Yeah.
Now,
For a lot of people, I bet you goals were just like,
Yeah,
it was
it's
too
like-
scary to set goals. I mean, even just planning for a little getaway, I was terrified, you know, because I think we just,
it's because it's hard to plan ahead right now. Going back to Clubhouse, and I know you've been active in that, and we've dabbled a little bit in it, but definitely not, haven't been in it a ton. And just curious, for building a community, how do you find Clubhouse versus something like LinkedIn?
Yeah, well, the two are probably the most related in terms of building professional community. Yeah, I mean, so I hang out with a lot of LinkedIn geeks on Clubhouse, and maybe that's my bias. But there's a lot of room to make collaborations, professional collaborations on Clubhouse. And the other platform that you can do that naturally is on LinkedIn, as opposed to, you know, places like the Insta or Twitter or Facebook. So you run into the people on Clubhouse, and that dialogue naturally moves over to LinkedIn. So a lot of those conversations go, you know what, we need to talk about this further. Hit me up on LinkedIn. Send me a direct message on LinkedIn. So even though the app itself is directly tied to Twitter and Instagram, I find most of the rooms that I hang out with they're not hit me up on Instagram. They're find my LinkedIn address in the bio and then start the dialogue over there.
the Clubhouse, it doesn't record, right?
You can, it's a workaround. So it's not as easy as you just hitting a button and, you know, your lovely lady saying, oh, this is now being recorded. You need to divulge that you're recording the conversation. So there are some privacy things in place on Clubhouse where you're not actually supposed to record, but you have to make it perfectly clear that you are recording the conversation.
Well, I'm just curious because I think on LinkedIn, maybe the tie-in is there because on LinkedIn, there's like a permanence, you know, there's like traces. Whereas on Clubhouse, it kind of goes up in the air once it's done, which is just as interesting, you know. But if you want to like, follow up on a point and really create some permanence to it, you know, something you can refer back to or what have you, then I see the value in putting it in LinkedIn or another social media platform.
Yeah, you have to. And you have to take notes because I try doing Clubhouse, you know, when I go for a run or something, and you can't take notes. Whereas with a podcast, you can at least pause the podcast, take some notes, and then come back to the audio. But Clubhouse, it's gone. And so I find I take screenshots in Clubhouse of the people I want to connect with. But unless you're intentional about taking notes, you've literally lost an hour of your life every time you go onto Clubhouse.
There's the ad for Clubhouse.
Oh, it's a time suck.
So we're going to switch things up. I think you've listened to a few of the episodes from season 1 and some of our earlier podcasts and know our Crazy 8 segment. It's a rapid fire with Crazy 8. And so we still have this for season 2, but it's different questions. So you do not get to prepare for these. These are brand new.
No.
So we're going to flip this over to you. So live to eat or eat to live?
Oh, live to eat.
Okay, that was quick. What time do you typically get up?
6
In
a.m.
Pacific time. That's Pacific time. Okay,
Yeah.
6 a.m. All right.
I
Plans?
want all the time zones.
Yeah. Plans or no plans?
Plans. Ugh. Yeah. Curse of
I
being
love her
type A.
She does her own commentary for everyone. This is great.
Personal trainer or personal chef?
Great if they were both. Personal chef, though. Yeah, that'd be fun.
What sense do you rely on the most?
Touch.
Touch. Okay.
Nice.
Truth.
We had some. This is actually. Let's be authentic here. This is our second podcast taping today.
Yeah.
And this morning we had a guest say common sense.
Yeah. It was great.
That's awesome.
It was the best.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
Now
Yeah,
it's-
I'm not that sharp. Sorry, guys.
We'll see how many other people go with that now. Okay. Truth or dare?
Truth.
Okay. And this one's crazy. So knowing that you've moved around a little bit lately, Calgary or Kelowna?
Kelowna.
Okay.
Big time.
You
Sorry.
moved for a
Calgary's
reason.
not
No
going to be
regrets.
happy.
Sandra Moniz is going to be coming after you.
Hey, listen, if they didn't have a foot of snow last week, my answer might have been different, but I was in my garden while they were shoveling their driveways. So
Okay. Kelowna's
That
Oh,
bad.
I was
yeah.
shoveling snow when I went there in September. It was very upsetting.
yeah.
I understand.
All right. And the last one, number 8. Are you surviving or thriving in the status quo?
Thriving.
Okay. Great.
Today.
Amazing.
Yeah. Today.
Today's a good day.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
It's true though. Ask me that question again tomorrow. It might be a different answer.
Yeah.
I think that's fair. It goes with the roller coaster. And I love that you said truth. It's very, very on brand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
yeah,
you.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Well, I'm
we're
not
in-
a risk taker, which is like, yeah.
But you know, well, I mean, and that's what something about your personal branding, I find it super interesting because you talk a lot about it being a meta experience, and even so, scouring the internet, I see a very curated brand on there. And just how is that? How do you do that? Like what challenges did you face and how did you go about it?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, and I appreciate you saying that, Mary France, because that curated brand has taken me 6 years to build.
How
So
big
if
is
you go
your
back-
marketing department again, Leanne?
Zero, like zero, right? And so it takes, and I think that's why I love personal branding so much, is there's always something to learn. There's always something to improve upon. So, because my blog from 6 years ago, my videos from 6 years ago look completely different than what you see today. So, it's that whole iceberg in the ocean. You see this perfectly curated experience that is maybe only 3% of everything that I've ever created in the course of my brand, which is kind of living under the surface. So I appreciate you saying that, because it'll change again too, right?
Yeah.
I look at other people's curation, and let's take your video broadcasts as an example. I have a ton of questions on how you produce that piece. And conversely, I have people who ask me questions about how I produce my piece. So there's always an elevation of your skill and your talent and the things that you can do to improve or change or just make your brand more engaging.
So we want to thank you for listening to our podcast. And if you like what you hear, you might even like TIPP Talks.
TIPP Talks is a custom podcast tailored to your event.
And a great way to highlight your speakers before your event actually starts.
And we'd love to help you figure all that out and make your event an even better ROI experience for your sponsors and your participants. So if you want to hear more, you can check us out on our website at switchidea.co.
Part of that brand is curating content. You're a huge content curator. And in doing the marketing for the Illuminate project, I am as well on our side. How much of a challenge is it to keep curating content on a day, almost a daily basis?
Yeah, well, creating and curating depending on your brand style. But well, I have a calendar now. I didn't have a calendar in the beginning, but I have a calendar now where I'll do a sit down with myself for half a day and
You have
kind
a
of
meeting
plan.
with yourself.
Yeah, I do. Regular business plan retreats.
Hey,
just me,
Leanne has
myself,
a
and I.
summit where she goes away for a few days by herself and has a
We-
one.
Oh, don't
We've
even
been
get
trying
me
to do a
started.
summit for-
Those
Really?
I could do that
Yes.
every weekend. I could do it every weekend.
Wow.
I think we need to join these summits.
Actually,
yes.
forget my last question. I'd like, because I'm surprised I'm the only one that knows this. But can you take us inside what those one-person summits or retreats look like?
Yes, I want to know about this. It's
Absolutely.
fascinating.
Yeah. So, well, every November or December, I will go somewhere for at least 48 hours. And so this year, I actually went to the airport hotel here in Kelowna. I rented out the biggest suite I could find, not because I needed a lot of places to put my luggage, but I needed a lot of places to put my whiteboards. And I have a very set agenda about my goal review
goodness.
from last year. So my business plan retreat, it's a look back at the year that I had. And then, of course, it's a look ahead, but that look ahead is also looking at me personally, like what goals do I want to set in my business? What goals do I want to set personally? Do I want to run any marathons this year? What books do I want to read? What courses do I want to take? So it's a soup to nuts look at the year ahead. And then I start to calendar it out. Like, okay, where am I going to achieve this? If one of my goals is to, I don't know, reach 5,000 LinkedIn followers, what do I need to do to reach that goal? And then, so then I start to walk it back. And it takes me about 48 hours to walk all the goals back into tangible quarterly goals, which turn into monthly goals, which turn into weekly goals. And then every quarter I do a review on, of course, those goals. And it's not 48 hours, but it's half a day where I look at all of the things that I need to do then in the next quarter. So the things that I'm doing in November this year, they were already preset last November during my business.
Talk about discipline.
And how important is it? Tell us how important it is to actually go somewhere else.
Oh, well, it's key. For one, this is my office. So I have to get away from my office.
Right.
And so it's not so much getting away from my home. I suppose if I worked in an office, I could do it at my house, but there's too many distractions at home. When I'm away, there's no distractions. The only person I talk to is the guy bringing me room service. And that, I don't answer my phone. My husband knows not to call unless it's an emergency, and it's just completely immersive. The only break I'll take is if I take my computer down to the lounge or the hotel restaurant and do some of my business plan retreat in there. Otherwise, I pack in my own wine, I pack in snacks, I pack in a tea kettle, and I'm just immersive in my hotel room, wherever that is.
I was going to ask, is there like an opening reception? Is there a gala dinner on one of the nights?
Just me, myself, and I with a bottle of wine. Yeah.
We have to take notes. I think we're well overdue. The pandemic kind of flew that away.
That, yeah.
And this is something that wasn't even curtailed by the pandemic because it was alone, which is super interesting because for a lot of people, I think, and I'll speak for myself, like being alone so much has been super weird.
Yeah.
Well, how many years have you done that? Is that something that's a long-standing tradition?
Yeah,
cool.
6,
I really
8,
like
10.
Wow.
Probably
love
closer
that.
to 8 or 10 because I can sometimes I'll tack it onto another trip. So I've done them in Toronto. I've done them in Vancouver for sure.
Oh yeah.
I've done a couple in Calgary. I've done 2 here in Kelowna. So yeah, I guess that adds up to about 8 or 10. Oh, I did one in Winnipeg once. Why was I in Winnipeg? I probably had site visits in Winnipeg. And so I decided that was going to be my business plan retreat after my clients left.
I mean, apart from maybe the review of goals, which was very different, was this one did it feel different considering what was happening? How so?
Yeah, I only spent less than half a day on the conference direct goals, and the rest of the time was spent on my new business goals. Because there wasn't much to plan. There was a lot of uncertainty still back in November, December. So The Conference Direct goals are still very conservative. And I gave as much time on that business plan to my CD goals that I give to my CD business right now, which is really only 6 to 8 hours a week, if that.
Yeah. Wow. And how do you come up with a good mix of stretch goals and realistic goals so you kind of keep yourself motivated as you go along? Do you have a formula or strategy for that?
I do. Yes, I do, Ryan.
Of course you do. You're a planner.
Strategy.
You're a planner.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I have, for every goal I set, there's a meet goal, an exceed goal, and a far exceed goal. The problem with this year and setting goals for the personal branding business is a lot of those goals, even now into June, I haven't met the meet goal. And so that whole roller coaster that I'm trying to get off of it's for me not to hit a meet goal is downright depressing. And so when those days hit, they've been ugly this past year. And I had a good run. I did 13 years in site selection where every single year I was hitting my exceed or my far exceed goals. So I didn't have those downtimes. I didn't have that feeling of I didn't hit a goal. And for someone who's a perpetual goal setter and an achiever, when I don't meet a goal, it doesn't matter what else is going right in my life. It doesn't matter that my family life is fantastic or the weather is great in Kelowna. Like you can't get me out of that basement if I don't meet a goal. So that's been tough this year. I can't.
Well, that's refreshing to hear because a lot of people know you as obviously a rock star in the industry, and to hear that you've had some downtimes, I think is encouraging for others to hear as well. It's not always easy.
Yeah. And a common theme that we've been exploring a lot is, I don't know if maybe you'd listened to it, but we talked about just the value of failure too, though, and how to deal with that and how we, and to put two of your favorite, our favorite thing and your favorite thing together, how we should, we talked about, and if LinkedIn is listening, we want to have a dark side to LinkedIn or the dark pages where we have to list all your failures, not your achievements. And that can be just as telling about your resiliency or your, and just how far you can go, right? Because maybe it's not a meet goal, but maybe you hit another goal that you hadn't articulated in a way, right?
Yeah.
So I listened to that podcast with Sarah, and you're right. When she was talking about that list of failures, I did tear up a little bit because in my eyes, you're right. My list of failures far outweighs my list of successes over the past year. But Mary France, to your point, we all need to extend ourselves a little grace, through 2020 and 2021, and all of the things that we learned. And so if I start to put that list together of all the things that I've learned, all the platforms I've gotten better at, all of the, I can't even tell you how many books I've read, then when I have those down days, that's the list I should be looking at. Is look at all of the stuff that's preparing me for when the industry does come roaring back.
Well, and I was going to say, I think it is very difficult to measure our successes or failures right now. It's going to take looking back at this time period to truly judge how valuable or how impactful what we are doing right now is or was.
And just think we can go back and listen to this podcast in 2 years from now and say, wow, look where we've come from.
Maybe there is no going back. So. Maybe we're redefining what success and failure is now.
Yep.
I hope you're right. I thought I would do that this past year. I'm wired differently, that I still wake up and go to sleep thinking about work and work goals. But you're right. I hope that others look at success differently, look at happiness differently. I sure hope that that's the lesson that we all take from these past 2 years for sure.
Yeah.
Well, I think we're still in it. It's a process. And I identify so much with what you're saying because I too, those really dark moments, like it really is a roller coaster. The highs have been so high, but the lows have been pretty low. And I do this, I do that. I take the list. I'm like, no, I didn't waste. I think a lot of people might feel like they lost a whole year. And some people might think they gained a whole year. And sometimes but you have to find the middle. It's like a pendulum.
Now, Leanne, we're going to go on to another game to have some fun here again. Get to know a little bit more about you. It's called our Food on the Floor segment.
Food on the floor, 5 second rule. Food on the floor, you got the 5 second rule.
I'm going to name a topic and I want to get your top 3 things.
3 things in 5 seconds. I can do it.
3 things in 5 seconds.
Okay.
You can do it.
Let me know when you're ready, Mary France.
Okay. Okay, I'm ready.
Okay. All right. Number 1, top 3 Blue Jays of all time.
Oh, good one. John McDonald. Come on, you're throwing me off my game here.
It's
Stop
steeping.
it.
I was not
Martinez?
expecting John
John McDonald is a
John
very,
McDonald.
very interesting one.
Oh,
Very
come
good.
on.
I know he's your favorite player, but I never thought I
Aren't
would
these
hear
guys
that.
the worst?
I love John McDonald. Oh, come on. Now you're throwing me off.
That's all right.
Kevin Pillar. I miss Kevin Pillar.
Yeah, he was great. His
and with
catches.
one more.
Oh, gosh. Well, I said Buck, but Gary Carter also has to also
Cool.
be on my list.
Okay.
So-
I cannot
Wait a minute.
believe
He's the
John
Expos.
McDonough.
No.
Yeah.
I was going to say, are you thinking Joe or are we talking Gary? Because we do.
No, I'm talking Gary Carter. He played for the Expos, not the Blue Jays.
Yeah.
Damn, I do suck.
You
at
can
this
go with
thing.
Joe then.
Yeah, Joe Carter.
Boys.
I will go with Joe Carter.
It's her list.
Okay. Number 2, this is more back to.
Oh, more time. Oh my god.
We got 2
Oh,
more.
we have more.
There's like
Palms
12
are
of these.
sweating.
Leanne.
The achiever comes out.
Yeah, pretty
I gotta
much.
win.
All right. Number 2, name 3 great personal branding platforms.
Ooh, LinkedIn. LinkedIn. And LinkedIn. No, LinkedIn, YouTube. I still think video's the future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And did we get a third one? LinkedIn, and YouTube.
And YouTube.
Okay.
Well, that's great. That's our platform. We're on track, guys.
We're
Awesome.
doing the right thing. Yeah, we're going to get you to go through and
I feel
give
good.
TIPP, we're going to get you to give TIPP a branding report card after this as well. and just so everybody knows, Tim does the branding. So
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. The
All right.
13-person
Throw him
marketing
under the
team
bus.
there.
I think we help
Yeah.
a little, but okay.
What if it's a good report card?
well,
I
exactly.
want to share in
You're
that
gonna give
too.
me all the accolades.
All right. The last one. We're doing 3.
Okay.
Name 3 events you cannot wait to get back to face to face.
The event, absolutely for sure. PCMA CIC
Okay.
and IMAX America.
Nice.
Alright.
Got it.
Done.
Wow, the event's in some good company there.
Wow.
I would say so. And now, is there a chance you go to IMAX this fall? Because it's gonna
Yes. So travel restrictions allowing,
Yeah.
yes.
I think they will.
And they just closed. Actually, no. Tomorrow they're closing the call for speakers. And I threw my
Oh, great.
stuff in the
Oh,
ring.
good
I have no
luck.
idea if it'll get accepted or not. It's
Nice.
it's first time I've done it, so I'm not expecting much. But I'm gonna just keep.
So if
Trying to
anyone from
apply.
IMAX is listening, you better get
Please,
Leanne on that
yes,
speaker
I'd like
list.
to come.
Yeah, she was a speaker at the event, so let's
Yeah,
get
she
her
was
a
great.
let's get her a hat
Yes.
trick.
Thank
Okay.
you. Yes, that'd be fun.
Yeah, and have you spoken at PCMA CIC as well? I'm guessing probably so, right?
Yes, on LinkedIn.
See?
So I'm really hoping if they go back, well, they're doing virtual, but I haven't heard much about it. But if they have a call for speakers, whether
Yeah.
for this year or next year, yeah, I'd like to put my name in the hat for that one too.
Super fun.
Okay. That was good.
I've got
Fun.
one more question.
Oh, you got
Okay.
one more?
Yeah. So I know your history is in site selection,
Mhm.
but I think you're one of the very few in our industry that is able to walk the line perfectly between supplier and planner. Is that intentional, or does it come naturally, or because typically if you're a planner, you're a planner, and even the most
Mhm.
even the most balanced planners still kind of fall on the planner side, and I think the same
Mhm.
with suppliers. But maybe talk about how you walk that line.
Yeah. Wow. Sorry, but Tim is trumping you guys. He's
I
got
know.
some really good questions.
Tim was on his game tonight.
Because
Earlier
you're
today.
right. Hey?
Kidding. I said earlier today, not so much.
Oh, not
Kidding. Totally kidding.
It takes him a while to warm up.
Kidding.
Ryan was winning
I'm
that
a
one.
nighttime guy. Nighttime guy.
No, so my background was planning, but that was, I guess 15 years ago now. So I came from the planner background. I was not from the hotel side when I joined site selection. But I quickly learned that the site selection people are the ones I felt in those early days had more integrity. And so it became quite clear that having strong, positive, authentic relationships with the hotel partners was key to my success in serving my meeting planner clients.
Yeah.
So, and that's why, the iteration of my blog just before COVID was more to help partners secure more business, because
Right.
I feel more drawn to the partner side of the equation. And yeah, I enjoy working with them. I would say even more so than working with my clients. Now, granted, I love my clients and they're really good people, and I'm quite lucky to have such I have very authentic and ethical clients.
Okay.
But it's the partners that really make the day for me when I'm working in site selection.
Oh, great. That's great to hear. As we got two, one hotelier and one former hotelier. That's great to hear.
Well,
Yeah,
and
no.
it makes sense because I mean, you could, as a site selector, you could have the best client relationships going, but if you don't have those supplier relationships, it's all for nothing, right?
Yeah. I could relate to that though. I feel like I like to I like to play both sides. I like being a planner, but I really like the other side. That's why I hang out with these guys.
Awesome. Well,
true.
thanks
That's
a lot,
not-
Leanne. That was
No,
awesome.
thank
That was
you
really,
guys.
really good. Yeah. That
I
was
think
a lot of fun.
we said the word authentic quite a bit, but I think this is one of our more authentic podcasts. Like it was awesome.
Real pleasure. You live what you
thank you,
preach.
guys.
I love that. Thanks for being part of the Illuminate Project podcast. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts.
To carry on the conversation, follow us on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Twitter at IlluminateProj with an 8.
Switch your mindset, stay creative, and we challenge you to not just survive, but thrive in the status quo.